Hello and welcome back to the PowerSwitch, gaming's call-in talk radio show. My name is Peter Spezia, and today is May 8th, 2018. This is the 43rd episode of the podcast. Thank you for tuning in. We use Discord as a means to add and drop callers to talk about video games, and switch the power that is found in a typical gaming podcast. You can join our server to participate during recordings at rhymeswithasia.com/call. On today's episode, an epic multimedia crossover in our headline roundup. Our main topic is Nintendo Switch Online details, and then we will get to your calls if you're tuning in live on Discord. So this was requested by our community over there on Discord at rhymeswithasia.com/call. They said, hey, that Nintendo Switch Online, those details that kind of popped up overnight, we want to talk about it. All right, so we're here on a Tuesday evening, right here at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, ready to talk about it with you guys. But first, we have to get through the gaming headlines that have happened in the last couple weeks, and that'll be through our headline roundup. We start with Square Enix announcing that they will have a video presentation at E3 2018. This will take place Monday, June 11th at 1 p.m. Eastern, so technically just slightly after what Microsoft used to be They used to be at the 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Monday before they moved up to Sunday this year, so kind of around that same time. So yeah, if anyone wants to fill that slot, be Square Enix. Then I think Ubisoft would normally be around 4 o'clock Eastern. I think they've kind of penciled that in this year. Sony, we're still waiting on them. Usually they go around 9 p.m. Eastern Time on that Monday, so I'm sure they'll eventually fill that in. They're the last ones holding out for their E3 2018 plans. But no, Square Enix, it's a big deal that they're doing that, because they took 2017 and 2016 off of big presentations at E3. So remembering what happened at 2015, it wasn't the best stage presentation, but it kind of shows you where the video game industry has been in those few years. I mean, some of the notable games that they talked about in that presentation, you had Just Cause 3, it was Nier New Project at the time, and even remember there was Nier, and it was kind of a scribbled out title, but that ended up, of course, being Nier Automata. Rise of the Tomb Raider was at that time. There was Kingdom Hearts 3, because, of course, this was where they showed the Ericus and Xehanort chess trailer, along with some of the gameplay with different worlds, Tangled World especially. Hitman, Deus Ex Mankind Divided, and they ended the show with Project Setsuna, which of course became I Am Setsuna. Other games, of course, that was the year where Final Fantasy VII Remake was revealed, so of course they showed that again at that Square Enix conference. So yeah, it is interesting to see how far the industry has come since then, but at the same time, things have stayed the same. What would I expect from an E3 2018 presentation from Square Enix? Well, of course, this is going to be the Kingdom Hearts 3 blowout show. You're getting talks that, different media personalities are going to be playing the game, probably within, the next couple months or so. So I would imagine that there's going to be a big blowout there, release date, everything, at this year's E3, finally, a long time coming for Kingdom Hearts 3. Of course, you have Shadow of the Tomb Raider. That's going to be a big deal. Dragon Quest XI needs to hit stateside, so I'd imagine some talk about that. Of course, the long-running content train that is Final Fantasy 15 would probably be expected to show up. I mean, they have all those DLC packs. I think Arden might come first, and then Aranea, but maybe they talk about, that first one, when that's coming out, maybe show some details there. And there's some other projects. I mean, the Avengers project, not the Avengers Initiative, but I mean, early last year they talked, Crystal Dynamics is working on the Avengers project. Do we hear first breath of that at E3? And then, of course, I mean, through all its development tumult, Final Fantasy VII Remake, they're saying in interviews over there in Japan that, it's all in-house, development's going very smoothly. We may have something to show soon. Not sure, but it's good to see that Square Enix has enough that they're confident to show, but going with the video presentation is the right format. Kind of go the Nintendo Direct route, carefully construct your message. One of the biggest games in the world, of course, right now is Fortnite. Not a game I have played yet personally, but it is very popular right now. That is undeniable. And apparently, while they were finishing up Avengers Infinity War, the Russo brothers, the director of that movie, took some time to play Fortnite, and they said, hey, wouldn't it be cool to have a crossover? So they called Donald Mustard over at Epic Games, and a crossover has happened. Starting today and going forward for a limited time, players will be able to acquire the Infinity Gauntlet and basically act very powerful. Jump in the sky, crash down, change reality around them, I don't know, use the powers of the Infinity Stone, turning into Thanos all the while. So that is a big deal. I mean, the biggest movie in the world right now with the biggest game, and I'm trying to think of the last time such a collaboration has happened, and you know, it's kind of neat for the story alone, even if you don't play the game. But that is happening right now, and that's making industry waves, I suppose. And then Nintendo is hiring for their next Zelda project. So this is level design. It takes place in Japan. You need to have some level of Japanese fluency and, you know, go live over in Japan. But it does make us wonder what kind of project they could be working on. Of course, people are speculating, hey, they should make a Majora's Mask style kind of game with The Legend of Zelda. You already have the engine and the assets working on, you know, what was Breath of the Wild on Switch. Kind of turn it into another game with a quick turnaround time. There's also the possibility, you know, hate to admit it or not, but a mobile game. The Legend of Zelda would be ripe to have a mobile game made. Granted, you know, the next one we know about is Mario Kart Tour, but it's not to be said that, you know, Zelda could have a mobile game announced eventually. And then you also have the Dark Horse candidate, though. If it's announced at E3, I doubt they're recruiting for design right now, but there's always the possibility, rumor that exists, that a Link's Awakening remake could come to Nintendo 3DS to try to extend the life of that handheld. So, interesting to consider what that next Zelda project could be, but Nintendo is certainly hiring. But speaking of Nintendo, let's get to our main topic. Overnight, Nintendo Switch Online details were revealed through that website update. It was, you know, it was our last recording this past weekend, and we're like, it's going to drop sometime, just in the middle of nowhere, boom, those details will be there in early May, and sure enough, a couple days later, that's what happened. So the important details are as follows. Of course, online multiplayer for games moving forward when the service is still expected to start in September 2018. I mean, that in a way goes without saying, but you know, that service has been free for the 18 months leading up to when that releases. That will have been in a way, the free trial period for early adopters. So yeah, online multiplayer. They talked about, you know, certain titles. I mean, ARMS, Splatoon 2. I think they dropped in the Sushi Striker game in there, but of course, interestingly absent Super Smash Brothers for Nintendo Switch. So take that for what you will. I'm sure that will all play into a grander reveal in time, possibly at E3. Save data backups via the cloud, a feature that has been needed for a very long time. Definitely some gripes that people have that this is being put behind a paywall. PlayStation 4 allows users to back up saves via a USB, and Microsoft uses their OneDrive cloud access to, you know, regardless of whether your Xbox Live entry point, you can still back up your saves that way. I think it is a bit silly that Nintendo can't have people save them to SD cards. I mean, is there concern for future games like Animal Crossing or Pokemon with save manipulation there? I don't know. It's hard to say. So while I'm glad that it finally will be a feature, you know, players will have to hold out a few more months that they hope their Switches don't break or anything like that. But yeah, they'll have to hold out a bit. But at least it's coming, even though it is behind a paywall. The most interesting thing, of course, when the Nintendo Switch Online was originally talked about, Nintendo is pitching the idea of every month we'll have 3 NES games, and they'll be remixed in a bit to have online, either co-op or multiplayer, and players will get 3 games per month. Those games will rotate. Well, I think they've kind of scrapped that idea in as far as its structure goes. I think it's smart, and we've been talking about it for a while, to kind of read the industry, see where it's going, and have that sort of Netflix-like library delivery service. So Nintendo is interpreting this as saying 20 NES games will be available, modified for online or co-op play. Yeah, that's pretty remarkable. To say that we're just going to give you 20 games flat out. 10 were revealed Straight away, they said Super Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers 3, The Legend of Zelda, Mario Brothers, Dr. Mario, Donkey Kong, Ice Climber, Balloon Fight, Soccer, and Tennis. And then 10 of them, the other 10, will be revealed at a later date. I almost wonder if Urban Champion is going to be among them. I saw some tweet today that was just like, Urban Champion of all NES games somehow ends up among these NES game lists. Just watch, it'll end up there for some reason. Interesting list of games. I think I, like many other people, are a little disappointed that it's NES only right now. I mean, the prospect of taking something like a Switch from docked to your TV as a console, then using it portably. I mean, it's nice to have, the NES Classic, the SNES Classic. If they'll eventually do an N64 or a Game Boy Classic, the idea of taking some of these games that used to be only on console and taking them portably, it seems fascinating. So I think it's a good system to get in place with that Netflix-like library as a start, but I do hope, and you got to imagine, that they would expand beyond just NES. And when they're saying Nintendo Entertainment System - Nintendo Switch Online, it does kind of give it a platform for expansion to say, well, then SNES, Nintendo Switch Online, or Nintendo 64, Nintendo Switch Online. Like, there is plans for growth there based on the name alone, I would imagine. But it does lead to the point via Nintendo Rep that confirmed to Kotaku and other sources that Virtual Console will not be coming to Switch. The brand itself of Virtual Console is dead. And while that may seem hyperbolic, and some people are, probably myself included, using it for different, taglines and clickbait and things like that, I think you just have to realize that, yes, there is the possibility to say, oh, you're leaving a lot of money on the table. I would buy so many of these games to play on my Switch. Why are you not taking my money? Well, they're going to be taking your money in the form of, monthly subscriptions or annual subscriptions, giving them money that you necessarily wouldn't have given them before for online multiplayer, I suppose. But if they can use that to establish a library over time that has, these choice games, especially if they modify them for online multiplayer. I mean, if you say the original Super Smash Brothers N64, whether it's a year down the road or so, but it having online multiplayer, that would be interesting, right? So there is that possibility. But there's also the point that Nintendo wasn't really going to find a way to have players' original Virtual Console purchases on Nintendo Wii or Wii U necessarily carry over to Switch. And instead of having the messaging that you're going to have to buy Super Mario Brothers 3 for the nth time, just say it's all bundled in, it's all looped into the online multiplayer, you get access to it, it has these extra perks, and we'll build and grow the library over time. So as far as the Nintendo Rep statement, it is, quote, "There are currently no plans to bring classic games together under the Virtual Console banner as has been done on other Nintendo systems. There are a variety of ways in which classic games from Nintendo and other publishers are made available on Nintendo Switch, such as through Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online, Nintendo eShop, or as packaged collections. Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online, will provide a fun new way to experience classic NES games that will be different from the Virtual Console service thanks to enhancements such as added online play, voice chat via the Nintendo Switch Online app, and the various play modes of Nintendo Switch." So, yeah, all in all, I think it's good to get what could be considered bad news out of the way before E3, right? Have E3 be the way to build up Switch games and expand this initial library offering, at least starting with those NES games. Have it be a way to just bring back the goodwill, I suppose, in case anyone does interpret this as bad news, because of course the internet is very polarized today as this is amazing, Nintendo's the best, and why can't Nintendo do anything right? They do everything wrong. I mean, of course, if you couldn't tell, I'm kind of right here in the middle. I think I'm mostly leaning positive on this one. I think it is fine to get rid of the Virtual Console name. Heck, I've been saying it for a while now. But it is good to establish the Netflix-like library of games. I just wish it was more than NES for starters. But of course, there's room to grow, right? So it's interesting to think about it in that sense. But then this also ties into Something I want to mention, not necessarily for reporting for news, but just for shits and giggles, so to speak, so that we can look back and laugh in posterity. E3 2018 is getting to be around the corner. I think we're less than 5 weeks away from it now. And that means, of course, the leaks come out. And the people who believe that they have heard what the plans are weeks in advance for these companies. So you may remember a user by the name of Vandal_leaks a ways back. I mean, he's the one who on Twitter said this Nintendo Direct is coming on this day, and it turned out it was on this day. And here are some ideas. Fire Emblem, Elegy of the Brave. Luigi's Mansion, planet or world in Super Mario Odyssey. That is DLC. So many other things. And of course, all those ended up being wrong. He got the date right, but pretty much everything else was wrong. Similarly speaking, on Gamefaqs, almost a week ago at this point, they said, hey, check this post out, May 7th. Nintendo Switch Online, they're going to announce their plans May 7th. And people are like, oh, yeah, okay. Well, it turns out it was May 7th when the plans dropped. And so, yeah, you look at the guy's list of other things, and, well, it turns out that what he's talking about for Nintendo Switch Online, that only a fraction of that is actually correct. And there's a lot of expounding that is just not really in the cards. So you got to really take the rest of what he's saying at face value and just say, oh yeah, that'd be great if it happened. But I'll point out a few of these things in case somehow they end up being right, but I think mostly just to look back in history and laugh. Regarding Super Smash Bros. For Nintendo Switch, he says, quote, 2 trailers for Smash Bros. For Switch are the last things. One reveals Captain Toad. The other reveals Crash Bandicoot and Spyro. This is why they've been quiet about the Switch version of the trilogy, being the Spyro trilogy. Gameplay is shown and is a mix of Smash 4 and Melee, being very colorful yet detailed. Coming out September alongside the online service, Ice Climbers are set to be revealed during the Treehouse Live. Once you say Smash 4 and Melee mix, that's just trying to capture as much attention as possible. I'm not sure that's necessarily going to happen. When you're talking about a Switch version of an upcoming Super Smash Bros. Game, knowing Sakurai, the big pull is going to be, hey, you can play Smash Bros. With anybody, anywhere. So you can play on the dinky little Joy-Con. I'm doubting there's going to be the technical complexity of Melee on a Joy-Con, when in Brawl, people were playing on sideways remotes, for crying out loud. So, not sure about that. Plus, when they're talking about new characters, at least when it came to DLC and things like that, I mean, these were characters that were big in Japan, or at least very Japanese characters. I'm not sure that Crash Bandicoot and Spyro would necessarily count as that. Captain Toad would be an interesting addition, I suppose, but I'm not sure that's necessarily the best E3 reveal, if that makes sense. So, yeah, in case all of the rest of the stuff was nonsense, I feel a bit iffy on that as well. Some of his other, title names or headline things here. Fire Emblem Lustrous Daybreak, which sounds a bit familiar to Radiant Dawn. Just putting that out there. Yoshi Flipped Around. He's saying Mario Odyssey DLC with Luigi, Wario, and Waluigi as playable characters, each with their own 70 Moon additions. Super Sonic Racing is revealed and takes inspiration from Sonic R, with some characters like Sonic running on their own while characters like Tails use vehicles. Some kind of Nintendo exclusive content is teased for the game as well. Look, I could see the name Super Sonic Racing happening, especially when you had that Sonic game tease that was definitely racing-like. I mean, we've heard talks of a Sonic racing game. So yeah, Super Sonic Racing would be kind of a funny name, but I don't know about for all games to take inspiration from, I don't know if you want to take it from Sonic R. And then another quote here, Pokemon for Switch is revealed. It's a new take on Red and Blue, and features graphics that are midway between Sun and Moon and Pokken. Again, I think you're trying to get the biggest attention when you're saying Red and Blue reboot, and it would be interesting, but I would think would make a lot more sense for an eventual Gen 8 to come for the eventual Pokemon game. So you can look in our show notes and see some of the other rumors that have happened. Again, yes, he nailed the date, but like Vandal Leaks, I doubt anything else is right. When he missed so many details about the revealed Nintendo Switch Online information, I kind of have my doubts about the rest of all that. So that's what I have to say. When we come back, we will get to the callers. We can talk about the main topics, some headlines, games you're playing recently. Really anything is on the table. That's when we come back here on the Power Switch.
You can push yourself to love and be stronger. Jump with me. You can fly or run away, but with me, hold your eyes and just believe.
Welcome back to the Power Switch. Ready to talk about Nintendo Switch Online, and yeah, there's a lot to go over in that main topic, but whatever you'd like to talk about, let's get ready to break it down. Joining us from Michigan, Scott, welcome back to the Power Switch. How are you?
Doing well, my friend. How about yourself?
We're doing okay. Since our time off, you have joined the Irrational Passions cruise. That's very exciting to see. Congratulations on that.
Oh, thank you very much. Great group of people over there and really having a good time and making lots of good content, so that's always a plus.
Absolutely. So what would you like to talk about today?
I'm really excited. We'll talk about the Switch announcement and the online features. I'm glad they announced what they announced. The thing that I think surprises me the most about what they announced was the cloud saving. Mm-hmm. Like you mentioned in the intro, having it behind a paywall seems strange to me.
Yeah.
What really strikes me is this has been such a hugely desired feature by so many people that A, it's behind a paywall, and B, that they're waiting until September to bring it out with the whole service. I'm surprised they wouldn't release that possibly separately beforehand, especially considering the Switch hacking community has already figured out how to take care of backups.
Right.
Like backing up save files, not backing up your games, but backing up saves. And also in regards to the online virtual platform, I think it's cool that they're doing the multiplayer aspect, but I don't necessarily want them to sacrifice the length of time to get new games out just so they can have that online feature added to games. I would prefer more games coming out faster for their service as opposed to a trickle like we're used to with the Wii and the Wii U Virtual Console. Just release all the originals. I don't care so much about playing Super Nintendo games online and things like that.
Yeah, and especially if it comes to, the long-rumored inclusion of GameCube games, right? The idea of playing something like Paper Mario and the Thousand-Year Door, there's no online component that is really necessary for that game, but man, I would love to play that on the go, right? So
exactly.
Certain games like that, I think it's not necessarily called for, so you should just release it. Or, if you're talking SNES, Super Metroid, Link to the Past, what are you going to do with co-op or competitive there? Nothing, but it would be great to have it. So, yeah, I think certain titles like that, it would help to expand the breadth of the library.
Right. Well, what's shocked me is the original Legend of Zelda was on the list of games that will be in the first batch of 20. So I'm curious how they're going to incorporate the online functionality with that or co-op with that.
Races would be cool.
It's certainly popular with
right.
all the randomizer community and just all the different tournaments that go on Twitch now. I could see it.
Yeah, it's just a matter if Nintendo wants to embrace it, right?
Exactly. And I think with the virtual, like the retro scene and things like NES and Game Boy and all those systems, Nintendo, I think, is going to be in a race to try and get out as many as they can. Because there's already emulators and stuff that you can do on the Switch. If you're at a low enough firmware, you can do the custom firmware, stuff like that.
Sure.
And with the recent explosion in the hacking and the soft modding community with the Nintendo Switch and having to release the whole new Tegra chip revision and things along those lines, I think they need to really knock it out of the park. I don't want to say that your common user would hack or install custom firmware on their Switch, but considering every Switch that's been released up to this date is susceptible to the big Tegra exploit, it could be a selling point for hackers to be like, do this simple thing, plug this into your Joy-Con slot, and run this program we give you, and you can play all Nintendo games and all Super Nintendo games and things like that. I think that would be... I think they're in a little bit of a race against time.
Yeah, yeah. And, you know, I'm sure the online community have been seeing, you know, comments, threads on Reddit and things like that, where it's just like, well, I'm not happy with this news today, so that means it's going to mean I'm going to, you know, hack my Switch all the faster. And it's like, okay, but it sounds like you were going to do that anyway, and, like, this just gives you more of a reason to do that anyway.
Right. It certainly won't help the situation considering such, like, IGN, Kotaku, and so many mainstream games sources have reported on the exploit and everything with the Switches.
Yeah, I mean, like, I had heard about that, but I'm not going to do anything about it right now. I'd like to use my Switch and not risk my Nintendo Online account. I'm just saying.
I actually picked up a second Switch.
There you go. Yeah, use a burner. Use a burner online account. Not saying telling you what to do out there, but
I'm not even going to use it for online stuff.
Yeah.
I'll admit I loved having my original 1000 model PSP simply because I could run so many retro things on it. It was fantastic for that. And considering they already have the Dolphin emulator running on the Switch, I can't imagine all the craziness that's going to happen, and the Switch will dethrone the PSP as like the go-to god tier of handheld retro emulation.
Of course,
on the go. If I could play up through the PS2 generation just on the go, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, that'd be pretty amazing.
Yeah, I just want E3 now.
Yeah,
it's too close.
Yeah,
it's in the oh my god, can it just be here already phase?
So as a big Kingdom Hearts 3 fan, you know, seeing this news of Square Enix today, like, where does that put your hype level with it?
I mean, it makes sense. I mean, there had already been rumors since the last trailer, I think, that it kind of rumbled out that they were going to do the release date at E3. So it makes sense. The minute Square said that they were doing their own thing again this year, is like, this is, like you said, this is just this is where they're going to announce the E3 or the release date.
Yeah, it's going to be the big blowout for sure.
Oh yeah, that's going to be their main focus. They'll have some crazy new trailer, and it'll have the release date at the end, and everyone will go crazy, and then they can just walk off the stage.
And for those that don't know, I mean, we generally team up with, you know, our E3 coverage, and we've watched the last several ones together. Remember, even back in 2013,
6 or 7.
Yeah, even 2013 when that first Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer was there. I mean, seeing that. So I think, you know, this year will be no exception. It's shaping up to be an exciting year. I'm sure Sony will eventually lock in their time, whatever it is, you know, Monday 9 p.m. Eastern or something like that. But that'll be a thing. Like, it's shaping up to be a good year.
Oh, definitely. I'm just going to be curious to see if anything. I don't expect any Final Fantasy VII remake to be shown.
I don't either. Yeah.
I think they're focusing 100% on Kingdom Hearts. Like, it's going to be kicking. I think E3 is going to be kicking off its press tour, like its marketing blitz.
That would make sense. Yeah, and then give it like a mid-October, or if that's too early, you know, late November release date.
I'm thinking first week of November, like the first full week of November. That's when it's going to come out.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah,
the 9th.
Okay.
The 6th or the 9th. That's what I'm calling.
Calling it now.
6th or the 9th.
All right, Scott. Well, we can follow you on Twitter at SolidSnake120, also on Twitch at SolidSnake120. Thanks so much for calling in. Really appreciate the time, and we'll talk soon.
You know it, dude. Glad to finally be able to make one of these. So,
joining us from North Carolina, Demetrius. Welcome back to the PowerSwitch.
Hello. I feel welcome. Always great to be here.
You too. Yeah. What's on your mind? What'd you like to talk about today?
This might be a weird one, but I actually wanted to talk about a bit of the fan reaction I've been seeing around the interwebs for the Nintendo Online service announcement.
Oh, certainly. Yeah.
What shocked me is that there is at least a notable enough to be significant sort of negative bent to it. Now, don't get me wrong, people are entitled to their opinions, but there's people who, say that I mean, this one is my favorite because just how absurd it is that, no virtual console and Switch, no buy. Like,
You weren't going to
like
buy
that-
it to begin with if you were making those
Yeah.
claims. Yeah.
If that's what you're saying, you never really cared about it because I didn't buy a Switch on the promise of a virtual console. I bought it because Zelda was there on the first day.
Yeah.
or like things like Nintendo is I guess just like generally it's a terrible decision that they're killing virtual console. And I love how almost all the outlets, whatever they are reporting it as, Nintendo has no plans for virtual console, and somehow nobody notices the 20 NES game. Like, think about it like this: if you don't like that there is no virtual console, then tell yourself it's virtual console and that every NES game is $1.
Yeah.
Like every NES game they're giving you is $1 for the service because you're paying $20 a year anyway. So there you go.
I mean, if you were going to buy, the first Super Mario Brothers and then Super Mario Brothers 3, I mean, those pricing points would have been probably generally $5 right on virtual console.
Mhm.
So yeah, would you pay
always
$10 just for that out of your 20 for the year? I mean,
I
yeah.
mean, that would be better, instead of like having them in addition to just having the online service is already 3 times cheaper than the competition.
Yeah,
Like, no,
God, that's crazy. I think in a way, like, that's almost like that's a steal on its own. Just to say that it is 3 times cheaper like that, the $20 per year. Yeah, if you want to do the $35 for the family, okay, sure.
But
yeah, that's
amazing. 8
amazing.
accounts and it's still universal.
Yeah,
for
it's
34 a year. I mean, 35 a year. Like, just find 8 people and have them pay what, $6-7.
Yeah, that's one way of thinking about it. I hadn't considered that. That's a good point.
Yeah, and then like you all like for one account, like have them all like send you X amount of dollars, $6-7, and bam, now you and those 7 other people, you all have Switch accounts, and you all can play the NES games, and you all get cloud saves, and this, that, and the third thing, and all those discounts and all that for essentially $7 a year. But nah, this is Nintendo looking to get money out of people. Clearly, Nintendo is incredibly greedy.
Oh yes, yes,
and anti-consumer.
And in a way, like, yes, that is the truth, but at the same time, like, when your competition is making so much money on their online multiplayer sort of plans, you kind of have to play catch up. You got to get some share of that pie in a way. Putting the cloud saves behind a paywall when your competition has other ways of doing that. Yeah, that is a pretty unfortunate situation. I think Nintendo, they should have a way of changing that. Even when they said, like, when we get cloud saves working, it'll be for most titles. Well, what titles will that not work for? Like, you're putting that out there. What's the caveat there? For those, as you said, like, for those that are saying that, virtual console, like, it's gone forever. Well, if it makes you feel better, consider this Nintendo Entertainment System, Nintendo Switch Online. Terrible branding. I think they got to mix up the branding there, but they say that's the new virtual console. Like, if that makes you feel better, I mean, go with that.
Yeah, like, just call it that if that'll make you feel better, because it's functionally the same thing. Personally, I know it's so far they're only talking about NES games. I'm not just going to assume that they're going to have SNES or later down the line. I'm not going to assume that, because getting yourself hooked up for promises that technically don't exist yet, well, you'll be disappointed for no reason later down the line if it doesn't happen. But I think there's a decent chance we're going to get SNES later on this thing. It would just make a ton of sense to do, and I doubt Nintendo would not do it. At the very least, you're going to get more NES games. They promised that at least. But it's like, if you're like so devastated about not being able to pay $5 for Super Mario Brothers again, for the 4th time, then you really never wanted to Switch in the first place, because like, the Switch is a game system with new games on it. If you wanted the old games, A, there's the NES and SNES Classic. B, there's the Wii, Wii U, and 3DS libraries, although the Wii Shop channel is no longer active. But let's face it, those people already had those games on there, or they emulated them on the system. So what's the point anyway?
Absolutely. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm the type of person that just kind of looks at things in that sort of logical
Yeah.
kind of way. Like for me, the reason why the cloud saves things, I think you're right that they probably should have an alternative option. But the reason why it don't make no difference to me is that, well, I'm gonna buy Smash, and I'm gonna need to play Smash online.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so ultimately, it's a moot point whether or not the cloud saves are on the online service because I'm gonna have it anyway.
I do wonder if, you mentioned Smash Brothers. I do wonder if ultimately the money's going to go help, to have better servers, because even Wii U Smash Brothers online wasn't that great.
Oh, Lord.
But then at the same
I
time,
do
they're
hope
not
so.
getting extra revenue with subscriptions from people. So like, do they take that money and funnel it, to develop certain infrastructures, or are they going to put that towards development of some of these, NES games or SNES, what have you, later down the line? That'll be a point for another time. I do wonder what'll happen there.
I agree. It's definitely worth thinking about. Me personally, I'm really hoping that that's what it's for. Because in all this, I'm not like super excited or disappointed by anything that I've seen. I think it's considering the price, it's good enough. But if we're getting like spotty online play like you got in Smash, where I'm playing a friggin' slideshow, then I'm gonna be a little bit irritated. But that's something that you'll have to we'll have to determine that when the time comes. As of right now, we can't judge that.
Yeah, we mentioned at the top of the show, there's a lot of hyperbole. You're gonna have Nintendo haters out there that they can't do anything right. You're also gonna have the people who think, the sun's shining up their ass, right? That everything is coming up roses for them. I think you and I are kind of on the same page, where it's like there's a lot to like, especially with this virtual console replacement, so to speak. I think it's setting themselves up for, if the industry does go to this Netflix-like sort of library service, they're putting the foundation in place for that change. I think that's wise. Yeah, they can expand it if they want to, or if that totally flames out in the industry, they can backpedal, sure, and maybe they go back and rename what was Virtual Console to sell them piecemeal, that way. But yeah, it is a good way to kind of get this story out there, kind of get any possible bad feelings out of the way. Now we gear up for E3.
Now we get ready for E3 and whatever they have there. I will say just one more quick point that I just feel like it's important to highlight. People think the Xbox Game Pass, they've been singing the praises about its value, and I tend to agree. I just want to say that the Nintendo Switch Online thing is $20 a year, and you get everything, including their Game Pass equivalent. Whereas with Xbox, you kind of have to pay the $10 a month in addition to the $60 a year that you're paying.
Yeah, $120 a year on top of the $60, unless they meld that this year at E3.
Yeah, maybe they will. They did, but as of now, they don't. So
yeah. Now, granted,
Whereas
one thing in Xbox's corner there, they are talking about the first party day one thing. I think that's a big win in their corner. I don't see Nintendo doing anything like that, especially with their expansive backlog of retro games. But it's different strokes, and $20 a year, you can't mess with that. That's pretty great. That's
again, for me, knowing it's $20 a year, considering the value prospect, almost feels like a steal. I'm not super impressed by anything, but at $20 a year, well, this is fine.
Yeah, you're not feeling ripped off, right? Yeah, so.
Yeah, come on, man. That's just man, I was gonna go out to, I don't know, it was gonna go out to Outback Steakhouse today, but you know what? Maybe I could skip that for this week and pay for my Switch service for the rest of the year.
Maybe get that Bloomin' Onion some other time.
Some other time, I can figure it out. I got any other point within the year.
All right. Well, Demetrius, people can find you on Twitter at _Damon, DAMON. Thank you so much for calling in. Always great to hear from you, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you for having me. And E3 season, so I'll be around.
All right. It's coming up, man. And joining us from Michigan, Miles, welcome back to the Power Switch.
It's me again.
It is you again. Well, welcome. What would you like to talk about today?
I would like to talk about that lovely game FAQ quote-unquote leak that came out.
Yes.
This was a huge thing. I know you guys already talked a little bit on it. You sprinkled it a little bit on. But I did want to talk about it because I wouldn't call this like a leak on alongside the Nightmare roster Brawl days.
No, not the Nightmare roster or the
Yeah.
Dragoon Prophet or things of old. Yes.
Mm-hmm. All those things. There wasn't anything here that was particularly deconfirmed, if you will.
Yes.
So what I really wanted to mention was like these leaks are going to be coming like pretty hard and fast, and this one was actually to me slightly impressive as far as leaks go because the two things they got right, there was no reason why they should have gotten those right.
Yeah, I mean, hitting the date is impressive enough. I think I have gripes about some of the information when he talks about Nintendo Switch Online. If they reverse course between now and E3, like if they decide, Nintendo Entertainment System - Nintendo Switch Online is terrible branding. Let's go Nintendo Classics NES. Like, yeah, change it up that way, sure. But based on the information they presented now, I don't know how much is really accurate there. But I think it is interesting to mention some of those things. Whether it's saying, a new Paper Mario game, but not from Intelligent Systems, and bring back partners, but you still have the limitations from Sticker Star and Color Splash. If you're talking about things like that, it's fun to speculate. I get it. What were some of the things that really caught your eye there, though?
The thing that really caught my eye was the number of consoles that they were dropping to be used in this Nintendo Classic brand. That, when mixed with the actual update that we got, the Nintendo Entertainment System - Nintendo Switch Online, which added the online play, it made you think, well, is there going to be online play for these consoles?
Mm-hmm.
Am I going to be able to play Mario Kart 64 online?
Super Smash Brothers 64 online, like that.
Online?
That'd be really cool. Yeah.
Are they eventually going to roll out GameCube? Melee?
Melee HD?
That kind of Melee HD, or except for maybe not totally HD if you think about it, but maybe I don't know if I really want to call this Nintendo Entertainment System - Nintendo Switch Online service HD 8-bit.
Right, yeah.
But, the fact of the matter is, like, he did kind of get some things right to the point where I'm like, I don't want to throw him out with everything else so far. Like, he mentioned Nintendo Classics, and while this isn't Nintendo Classics, it's pretty damn close.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, Nintendo Entertainment System - Nintendo Switch Online does not seem like a strong brand name they're throwing out there. This does feel like a placeholder name that when E3 rolls around, we might see it change. He threw in so many specifics that the fact that he got the two right, ditching Virtual Console brand and coming out with details specifically about the online service, specifically on May 7th. Let's just keep a casual eye on it.
Yeah, I think it would be, let's not forget it. Let's put it out there. It'd be something that if it ends up being wildly wrong, we can say, it was that leak way back when. And it's for amusement, I suppose. But it was always fun to consider some of these leaks. Like, just give it the slightest grain of salt. Because, certain things like, Sony's kind of plans leaked before. Granted, it was like the day before, not weeks. But some things can happen. Let's talk about the Smash bit, though, because I'm sure you're interested in that.
The Smash bit was very interesting. Like, hey, there's going to be some trailers for Smash Brothers, and it's going to be Captain Toad. And I'm like, okay, he'll finally be able to jump.
Because he can't in his game.
Yeah, like, I don't know what they're going to do to make him jump. Maybe they'll have him followed by Toadette, who just throws him into the air. That'd be kind of funny.
Or he'd be like, wow, I have a jetpack!
Captain Toad away! And the other one, like, one of them says that the other trailer reveals Crash Bandicoot and Spyro the Dragon, which, for some of you people who didn't know this leak, it also mentions that the Spyro trilogy is coming to Switch. Mm-hmm. To which this is the part of the leak that I'd be like, I thought to myself, yeah, okay, I definitely could have written a leak like this. Like, everyone and their mother, who grew up around Crash Bandicoot or Smash Brothers, it's like, I want Crash Bandicoot and Smash, and then Crash suddenly got ported to the Switch. Everyone's just going, Crash is going to be in Smash Switch. everyone's going to be talking about that because it's, well, now he's on Nintendo consoles. It's just a good way to get people to be excited about Smash. So if Spyro Trilogy hits the Smash or hits Switch, yeah, I would say that he's definitely coming to this. But that's just coming up with things to make people hyped about things.
Right. Are those characters that you think Sakurai would go for, though? I mean, they're very Western characters. I mean, if you look at like the DLC characters for Wii U, I mean, you're talking Lucas, Ryu, Mewtwo, Cloud, Bayonetta, Corrin. Like, they're all very Japanese sort of favored characters.
Yeah, but those are all DLC.
Right.
These are not DLC characters. These are characters being built straight into the game.
But like, what kind of Western characters have been given that kind of favor in Smash Brothers though before? Like, I guess that's my only real hang up about it. Yeah, I think maybe Crash has an outside chance, but I'm just like, Crash and Spyro? I don't know about that.
I think it's business. I think it's good business. Because for every Crash Bandicoot that's sold on the Switch, Nintendo makes a profit. So if Crash is going to be in Switch, people who are excited about Crash will want to play Smash, so they'll buy a Switch, Smash, and get Crash Bandicoot Trilogy. Same with those people who are excited about Spyro. Oh, I love Spyro. Oh, it's going to be on Switch. Oh, Spyro's going to be in Smash? It's a good business decision. And honestly, I think that will go a long way. And it kind of fits well into the nostalgia that is Smash. And Smash, like, the only person in Smash who I don't really feel like is hard on the nostalgia are the Xenoblade Chronicle kid, Shulk,
Yeah.
and Bayonetta, who was voted in just by popularity. For that reason, I'd have to say that, Crash and Spyro really fit the mold for Smash characters.
Now, one other thing I had mentioned about at the top of the show regarding the Smash part of the leak, when they say gameplay is shown and is a mix of Smash 4 and Melee. I mean,
I just think it means it's floaty but faster.
Okay, I took that as just like, yeah, you're gonna put that in a leak because that's what everyone wants it to be. But I don't know if, of course, Sakurai is gonna make the Switch version of the game be like, you can play it anywhere, even on the dinky little Joy-Cons. Like, yeah, you're really gonna have a faster game like based playing on that?
People play it on Mad Cats.
They play it poorly on Mad Cats.
that they do, but there are enough buttons on a Joy-Con to play Smash.
I mean, people played it on Wii Remote. I mean, come on.
Yeah, it's true. Then he threw in, oh, by the way, Ice Climbers.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I could imagine being taken away from this leak overall is saying that, yes, the E3 presentation will focus on Switch titles, and then Treehouse goes and shows 3DS. Like, yes, absolutely. That makes sense.
But, like, honestly, there's just a lot here that goes, oh, well, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yoshi, like, he talks about, like, a Yoshi title called Flipped Around and features Mabel functionality as Woolly World. Oh, yes, that makes sense. Fire Emblem is titled Lustrous Daybreak. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That sounds like a Fire Emblem game to me.
Radiant Dawn.
Yeah. Which, that makes me think, is that supposed to be a sequel?
Yeah, or like, yeah, sequel, or like an HD remaster.
As far as console Fire Emblem games go, wasn't Radiant Dawn the last one?
Yes, it was, yeah.
So, Lustrous Daybreak being a sort of sequel following the most popular Fire Emblem character in both the West is going to be Ike.
Yeah. Throwing some Makai in there, yeah.
Yeah, to me, it makes a little sense.
Yeah.
Like, everything he's written, though, it just kind of like, it makes a little sense. And that's the actual reason why I'm thinking to myself, no, that's not right.
Yeah. There are going to be weird things thrown in there at E3, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Though I don't know.
This makes too much sense. I feel like somebody could have written this, but not Nintendo.
Yeah, right.
This doesn't scream Nintendo. Mm-hmm. This screams what we would love to see.
Though the Five Nights at Freddy's thing is kind of bullshit. At the end of the day, though, I think you're right. I mean, it's Yeah,
I mean-
we'll talk about it. We'll mention it. It's fun to think about as a thought exercise, but I don't think we should put too much stock in it saying this is what is going to happen, especially 5 weeks out.
The Five Nights at Freddy's thing, unfortunately, they're coming out with a movie, so that one, just as much as everything else,
I
makes
forgot
me
about
go,
that.
yeah, it's got a movie, which means that's actually got a little bit of clout behind it, which is what I hate about this leak, is that everything's got a lot of clout behind it.
Something to consider. Well, Miles, we can find you on Twitter at Solharath.
That's true.
That is where people can find you if they want to follow your things there.
That's right.
Yes.
And if they really like the sound of my voice and wants to hear me talk for about 40 minutes about something that I really love, like Project M,
That's right.
head on over to Misprint Media's Patreon, drop $1 down, and you can actually see an interview that I took while I was in Texas last summer, all about the life and times of someone who's been with Project M from the very beginning.
That's right. They're doing that documentary there. Well, congrats on that. That's awesome.
Thank you. I'm really excited about it, which is why I just plugged it out of nowhere.
Hey, we are good with plugs here. Well, Miles, thanks for calling in. Appreciate the time, and we'll talk soon.
Hopefully so. Hopefully so.
All right, everyone, thanks for calling in. That will do it for this episode of the Power Switch. We are hosted by rhymeswithasia.com, and we're on YouTube and Twitch at Rhymes with Asia. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at The Power Switch. I am at Pete Speakeasy. You can email us any questions, concerns, comments, or opportunities at powerswitchpod@gmail.com. You can subscribe to the Power Switch on podcast services such as Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Stitcher. And if you could be so kind as to leave a review, that would really help as well. Most importantly, to participate in future episodes, you should join our community on Discord by visiting rhymeswithasia.com/call. It's a small but growing community, so now is the perfect time to have your voice heard on this podcast. If you want a YouTube video to watch, check out Retro Replay. Would you think that title would have been taken by someone? I don't know. But the gist of it is apparently Nolan North and Troy Baker are starting up their own Let's Play series. So check out the show notes for their season 1 trailer. It looks like they're doing a lot of, Atari, NES sort of games, like old games. But I mean, gosh, two of the most prolific voice actors in the video game industry doing a Let's Play series. Yeah, kind of on board for that, especially with the Drake brothers. So check that out. We'll have a show this coming weekend. We'll see if anything else, breaks throughout the week, but it was definitely good to get this one down. Gives me confidence for kind of the evening of a weekday when things break and people want to talk about it. It shows the idea and the strength of the format. So thank you guys so much. That it really makes me feel good about doing something like this. So stay tuned to our Discord channel as everything develops, and regardless whether it's live or on your own time, I look forward to you joining us for our next episode. With that, I am Peter Spezia. Until next time, switch up, call in, game on.